Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Dustin Rive, and this is the Elev8ted Podcast. And here we are focused on higher learning. So on today's podcast, we got a few things we're going to be talking about. First, we got an awesome interview with my man, Chat Artinsky.
Hello there.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Chad. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing really good.
Hell yeah, excited to have you on. And basically after this nice little interview, we're going to dive into some news. And after the news, we're going to dive into the endocannabinoid system and, educate you guys on why cannabis is so good for our awesome bodies. I'm going to light this doobie up, though, because this is a podcast focused on higher learning. And if we ain't high, what's the point? Let's get into this, buddy. So, Chad, welcome to the Elev8ted Podcast. And why don't you start off by just telling us where you're at right now in your artistic career?
Well, right now I'm a public teacher. I'm an art teacher. But I've also been working a lot in 2D art. So lots of like pointillism. I've been doing lots of painting on canvases. And actually, just recently, I completed this piece that's it's a painting that's encased in a infinity mirror. So, like the
Can you explain an infinity mirror?
Yeah. So you have a two-way mirror that's like a film that you put on a window, and then that's facing the mirror. And then if you have a ring of lights along the edge, the lights will illuminate and reflect, and then it'll look like the illusion of it going into infinity.
Oh, okay.
So
Totally. It's like the mirror into the mirror, and it goes on. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Hell yeah.
But if you do a painting on the actual film, the light will reflect off of it, and the painting will go into infinity as well.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
And
so,
what inspired was this a cannabis inspired idea, or was this?
Well, yeah. I think like the work that I've done in the past, before I started doing cannabis, was a little bit more like in your face, more like more abrasive. And now it's my stuff is a lot more subtle and more like technical.
Okay.
Before it was a little bit more rough. But yeah, now it's like I'm really refining my craft now that I've moved to Calgary and started smoking weed.
No, so wait a second. Okay, because this is one thing, like, I've only known Chad for maybe about like 6 months or 7 months now.
Yeah.
But this is one thing I didn't know about you, because I kind of just assumed you've always smoked weed. So when did, I guess, you first discover cannabis?
So probably my late 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like how late, like 28, 29? Like?
Yeah, 28, 29.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah,
That's
I'm 36 now, so like not very long.
Damn, man. Okay, so you're super new to the game, man.
Exactly.
You're a late comer to the cannabis game.
Well, you taught me how to roll joints.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Totally.
Dude, that's too funny. So yeah, get this, guys. So like, I work at Emporium Smoke Shop, and Chad popped in one day and we got chatting, and I don't even know how it came up, right?
Yeah.
But he eventually asked me to show him how to roll some joints, and I showed him how to roll, and now he's rolling beautiful joints. Dude, that's too funny. I totally forgot about that. Oh my God. Sorry. Okay, keep going. A little sidetrack.
Yeah, no, so the weed, at first I didn't think anything of it. Like I thought it just, it's like it's a thing that I do on the side, and it has no effect on my artistic drive or, what I'm envisioning, what direction I want to go. But after I started like actually reflecting and looking on my work the past like 5 years, I can definitely see a huge shift and change in direction. It's almost like there's like this paradigm shift between the past me and the me after I started smoking weed.
Very interesting, man.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And who was the person who introduced you to the beautiful plant?
Okay, well, this guy is a bit of a character. So his name's Darren, but he is he was known as like a basketball goon. Like he'd get into lots of fights, and he's like this athletic like gifted, like he's like 6'7" and very strong, but just like a loose cannon.
Okay.
Very like aggressive, like getting drop of the hat, you just like crack somebody.
Scary. Okay. How'd you get to meet like such a freaky guy?
Well, just like playing basketball, like, and like you're just in that community, and like he's a freak of nature. Like he could just do like a drop step dunk, like just insane. Like, he had all the tools, but just not like the mental, right? But I think the weed for him was like a therapy, because he had social anxiety. And he could just like lose it on a drop of a hat. So with the weed, I think it calmed him down. And then I started smoking with him. Just every so often, I'd go and hang out with him.
What was the first smoke experience, though? Tell me about like the first time. Like, there had to be. Were you nervous? Like, did you have some anxiety? You were like, oh, this is weed. Like, what were your preconceptions of cannabis before you had this crazy basketball player?
Well, I thought
show you weed.
Okay, I thought I was going to start hallucinating.
Really?
I thought that like I was going to start seeing some like frog with wings or something. I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
And then, but initially, I just really calmed myself. My body just calmed down, and it like felt it, really nice. I don't know. That was my first experience.
And like, did you smoke a joint? Like, how did it even come up like that? Like, hey, like, were you guys played on the same team together, or?
No. This is after we played. Like when I played university basketball. Wait, just 1 second. When I played university basketball, we didn't touch any like alcohol or weed or anything. So throughout my basketball career, I didn't do any weed. I didn't drink that much. And then afterwards, he started smoking weed, and then I started smoking weed afterwards.
Oh, okay. Okay. You just sort of followed along, sort of like, okay, this is normal now.
Yeah.
And, oh, sorry, go ahead.
But anyways, like me moving to Calgary from Kelowna, we spent a little bit more time together, and I started smoking more weed, and then I started like buying my own weed.
Okay. And
then I started like, just like it became more of a consistent thing. And then that's where I saw a huge shift in my art. For sure. Interesting.
Yeah. And like, okay, so you said your art was a little bit more in your face before smoking cannabis. Could you give some examples of like some of this other art previous to cannabis consumption?
Okay, so throughout my my university, I did a lot of experimental, performative, and sculpture art, and it all kind of started with these wearable art gala events where you would come up with these costumes, and then you do a performance. And I actually was really successful in this. Like the first time that we did it, we like won the best performance and like best costume.
What was the costume? What were you dressed up as?
Well, I was like a Greek god.
Okay, yeah.
And like god of war, and the other guy was this Gaia, the god of earth.
Yeah. Okay.
And we were like fighting with one another. We paralleled the battle between humanity and earth, and the battle of like religion.
Interesting. Okay. And what was the dialogue like in this? Like
no dialogue.
No dialogue.
Just like choreographed fighting.
Oh,
with like theatric score music.
No shit. So you guys are like gladiator on stage.
Yeah.
No words, no nothing. Just I am Gaia and I am Earth and I am God of War, and just well, not even saying that, but just acting. Okay, exactly. That's hilarious.
So then the next year, I was like, okay, I got to step it up. Yeah. So me and this other student, we get a group of three males, 3 females, and they get all naked on the stage.
What?
Yeah, covered in Vaseline. And then
sounds like a good porn. Beginning of a good porno.
Not a porno. So we run out with like a bunch of glitter on, like, we have like these belts with all the different glitter with different colors.
Okay.
We run out and we just start throwing all this different glitter, and it like creates like this abstract art piece because it all sticks onto the Vaseline.
That is hilarious. You got 3 males, 3 females covered in a bunch of glitter and Vaseline that you just and what was the message we were getting across with this one?
Just bizarre. Like, I think that was I think for me that was a piece where it just freed me from, you know, worrying about mistakes. Okay. And just like freed me to be like, okay, like I need to like step up my game.
Interesting.
Like artistically, I need to like push the boundaries, even if it doesn't have any real meaning behind it.
Oh, it's liberating
to have
though.
that adrenaline, you know, like that drive to do something, you know, out of my comfort zone.
And was that one of the first projects you would say that really got you out of your comfort zone?
Yeah. And then I did this hoax lecture for first year university students, where I would come in as a famous artist from New York, and then do a whole presentation on what is like real art.
Okay.
And like what they should be focusing on. And then I show them like my fake New York, you know, famous artwork, which
portfolio,
portfolio, which is just sticky notes of stick people having sex.
Dude, what?
Yeah. So like they have like, you know, like stick figures up. I've got like a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And I'm like pointing at it and saying, this is art. This is what you need to, you know, focus on and become talented and skilled at, be able to share your sexuality like I can. And I actually had them spend like a good 5 minutes silence and just write what they're feeling about the work that they see. I just had like a slide of just Post-it notes with stick people with like huge penises. Crazy stuff,
dude.
And then like, afterwards, like, because you know some students would like leave.
Okay, I was gonna ask you, like, what's the reaction like, man?
So I didn't stop there. Like I also then did a presentation on my real art.
Yeah, like
showed them sculptures that I was working on, but I didn't say that it was mine. I said it was their work. So before I did the lecture, I said that I need to see like a portfolio of each student, and then I'm going to critique their work. So then I put up my work and I say it's theirs, so they all believe it.
Oh my God.
And then I just butcher my own work in front of them. I just say, this is absolute garbage. Like the direction that you're going with this is just, you actually shouldn't be here. Dude, but it's anonymous, right? Yeah. So like they're all looking around going like, oh my God, who is getting butchered right now?
Oh my God. Who is New York? Yeah. Art God. Oh my God.
So I did that, and they, like the one professor there, he kept asking me to come back. So I did it for like 4 years.
Dude, 4 years you did this.
Yeah, I would come back and I would do that little performance.
That is it clearly worked. It was it was a very successful little project.
I don't know. My goal for that work was to stimulate critical thinking in the university. Like don't just come into a university and expect them to like tell you which direction you need to go. Like find your own direction and stand up for yourself and intellectually.
Totally. I mean, interesting in a spot that they're looking for guidance, though. They're not trying to do anything.
Exactly. I know. Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, that's too funny. A lot
of the professors are like, well, you should do that with like our graduate, program or something like that. Let's see how that works with them.
And did you end up doing something?
I never did that.
You just did it with all the first years or whatever?
I didn't have the gusto. I don't know.
That's hilarious. Well, I assume the first years
it's so much easier to do it with those first years.
Dude, they're all like, yeah, dude, that is too funny. So, I mean, now this is definitely something you're pretty known for. You like to be pretty provocative and
well, in my past.
In your past.
Right? Like anything, post 2009. Or no, like prior to 2009, like I had like some very controversial work that I was working on, but also not like I did a public sculpture that had to do with the residential school system and like educating the public about the atrocities that our Canadian government hid from us
with the Indigenous.
Yeah. So I did some work with that. But yeah, I did a lot of like political activism, and I did that protest piece.
Yeah, actually, that protest piece is very interesting. Why don't you tell everybody about that little protest project you had?
Yeah,
going in the schoolyard, because I think that was a very fascinating experiment in sociology, really.
Yeah. So I think there was a federal election. This was the first time Stephen Harper became prime minister, and it was the worst turnout for our generation in Canadian history for voting. Mm-hmm. And I was frustrated because I was just like, oh my God, we have nothing to say. Like, our generation is not, we're just vacant in voice. So I went out into the courtyard of our university, and I just walked the university back and forth with a blank picket sign. And people just looking at me going, what the hell? What is he doing walking with a blank picket sign? And then they'd come and ask me, like, what are you protesting? Like, none of your business. Go away. And I just keep protesting.
Yeah.
And then after like the 15th person, I was like, what do you want? What do you want me to protest? And the guy was like, protest against protesting. I was like, okay, well, if you write on that picket sign, I'll go and I'll do it. Mm-hmm. So we wrote down protest against protesting. So then I started walking. I was like, no one should be allowed to protest on campus. Not even me. You should stop me right now. I'm protesting. Stop me. Yeah. No one should be allowed to protest. And I just did that, and people started laughing, and then it like got a little bit of attention. So then I thought of this idea of I brought out like a bunch of pickets, and I announced to the whole courtyard of our university, if they come down and they write down on one of those pickets, I'll protest for them.
Okay. So you got a little scheme in place now.
Yeah. So I went out there, and like first person wrote down like I think the chicken fingers were too much in the cafeteria, so we need to lower the price.
Got it.
And just like very like harmless stuff. Moving on, and then it become like political protests, but I didn't censor anything. Okay. I like had that idea. I was like, I'm just gonna allow people just to voice whatever they want. And things started getting a little bit more heated with like, women's rights. There's some misogynist protests where the women's program at the university got really heated, and they were really frustrated about that. So they contacted me, and they wanted to shut down the project. Bro. And I said, well, it's an open project. Yeah. So if you want to voice your side, I can be a conduit, and you can protest through me. So there was like this dialogue between like the gender studies group and like, I don't know, like pretty misogynist.
But bro, this just says a lot. Like, look at what one guy can do with a blank sign, and how a single person can infuriate an entire group. Yeah. And then, because this story gets really interesting. I've heard this story before. This is one of the few that I've heard before, but this is fascinating because another group gets involved, right? And it's, so go on, but just human nature, fascinating.
So the controversy starts going up, and people start amping up what they write down on this picket. And, some people are writing down like white supremacy, and now we're getting into like really tough topics. And I'm just a conduit, but it's getting to the point where it's like I may be breaking the law.
Totally.
Because in Canada,
free speech only goes so far in Canada. If you know
that,
you don't know that.
It's not going into a crowded theater and yelling fire. It's not that. No. It's like, hate speech, like clearly defined. You'll meet a tribunal. So I was really on this line that I didn't even know I was crossing when I was doing this. And some of my professors, they were threatened by faculty head and the president.
Well, hey, 1 second. Don't hold out on us. Let's hear about some of the gnarliest protests, some of the most controversial protests that were written? Give us just the top three that really crossed some lines.
I don't know, man.
Bro, okay.
I don't know,
okay, fine. It doesn't have to be a top three that cross some lines, but man, give us some dirt, bro. Give us some dirt.
There's gonna have to be some imagination on this.
Okay, exactly.
Like if you could think of like the most heinous things, like somebody just trying to cross their moral boundary, and that was really what the work was about. Well, it evolved in that way, where people, because they were anonymous, and I would take full responsibility for whatever was mentioned.
True, yeah. They would write it down, and you would hold the sign.
Cross their moral boundary and say something beyond what they would never stand beside. Mm-hmm. Like the person that wrote down the white supremacy protest was a black student.
Totally, yeah.
So it's all based on like that anonymity that allows for moral obligation to get negated.
You're like the analog version of like the internet. It's like I don't know, message board.
Yeah.
And
at the university there was classes that were debating, they were talking about free speech, they were talking about
all revolved around your
around that protest piece. Yeah.
Oh, so you had you got yeah, you definitely ruffled some feathers, man. I love it.
I definitely did. And as the things that I was communicating got worse, they started ramping up the pressure on trying to stop the project. So my faculty had reeled me in and basically said, you need to stop this, or possibly you could be in front of a tribunal where they could strip you of your academic standing. So like your 4 years that you went to university, gone.
Dude, no way. It got to that point where like you could almost lose everything.
And then also, some of the professors that were my advisors could be implicated, and there could be penalties to them as well.
Oh, whoa, man, dude! Like, yeah. This doesn't happen every day at a college or a university. That's for damn sure.
No, I definitely at this university, I changed a lot of rules for how they govern and how they monitor their fine art students.
Dude.
All their students, basically, yeah.
You made them rewrite the books.
For sure.
On what an art student.
Maybe not rewrite, just add a lot more to it. You need an application if you're going to be spouting off anything up in the courtyard.
Dude, no shit. Wow, yeah. Man, that's hilarious. No, it's cool, man. It's that is very, very fascinating. I mean, this is why I had you on here, because you're more than meets the eye. Goddamn transformer. I don't know. There's a lot going on there, man. You've done a lot in a short time of life. You're for only being 36, man. You've done some pretty impressive stuff. Well,
I think what really stimulated this curiosity in that specific work from before I started smoking weed.
Oh yeah.
Because if you notice, it's way more active. It's way more I'm protesting in front. I'm doing this performance on a stage. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more hands-on than right now. It's I'm working on very highly detailed pointillism portraits of scientists and
what do you think drove a lot of your earlier projects though? Pre-Canvas, because obviously there's a little bit of I don't know, youthful angst, and maybe, I don't know, realizations about the world. Were you just sort of processing the planet, coming to terms with some stuff, taking out that frustration in some art? Or what was it that really drove those earlier kind of I don't know, FU pieces? Because your transition is gnarly. It's it is night and day.
Yeah, I think it's just about being very present and trying to make the best of every moment.
In the earlier times, just trying to figure out how to. So
even the work itself, that protest piece, there was a somewhat of a goal, but I didn't actually map all that out. I didn't know that narrative was going to transpire. I didn't know that all those things were going to happen. So it's like it's having that drive to just be present and going with the flow and trying to stimulate things to be more, I don't know, creative or interesting.
And wow, you really have to go with the flow when you agree to protest anything.
Improvising. Working on improvising.
Dude, interesting. That's like it's a commitment, man. That's really cool. I mean, it just says something too, man, because you've gained, I imagine you gain a lot of confidence from doing something like that, knowing that you're capable of like stepping outside your comfort shell and, you know, doing something a little bit, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, okay. If I can go back to my high school days, like this aspect of not worrying about failure, like fail big or whatever it's called. I thought when I was in grade 10 that I was like this really popular and very charismatic person, and I could just wing it for like this huge event where like the high school, like all the parents and everyone would come over. It was like 3,000 people would come and watch this event, and I wanted to be the MC for this event. And but didn't prep or do anything for it.
Okay.
It's like these air bands where you sing but you're not
air guitar. Man, totally. Yeah, the air
so
guitar
it was
nation.
Huge at my school, and it was like one of the biggest schools in the province. And I'm going to be the MC.
Yeah.
Someone who's never like spoken in front of that many people. So anyways, I go up in front of like 3,000 students.
This is when you're in high school,
and
man?
I freeze in front of everybody. And the only thing that can come through my mouth is 2,000 air band. Give it up for the next band. And then like everybody cheers like, yeah, woo woo. And then they leave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to say the next time I go out there. And then I go back out there, they're done. The only thing that I freeze again. Oh my God. Only thing that goes through my mouth is airband 2000. Give it up for the next band.
Dude, are you kidding me?
I leave. I come back, freeze again.
Dude, come on.
I did it 7 times.
Dude, what?
7 times. On the last one, or no, on the second last one, it was like dead silence, and one guy yelled out, "You suck."
Are you kidding me? Dude, you're already Mr. Popular and stuff. I would have thought you'd have like experience talking with people.
It was social suicide.
Dude, what? So what happened?
Walking through the halls, people were
what was the next day? What was the next day at school like?
People would point at me, be like, "Yo, 2000, give it up for the next man." And they'd be pointing at me, just crying on the inside. However,
dude,
one thing I noticed, when I was like looking in the mirror, and I don't have any scars on me. I don't have any bruises.
Yeah.
So what am I so caught up about? Like, why am I so,
because
like hung up about the fact that I bombed in front of all these people? So that actually freed me.
Okay.
To be able to experiment and be more outgoing and be able to.
How long did that take you
risks.
to realize that though? Like, because like, man, that's something that like that will fuck with people for the rest of their lives. Like straight up, man. Like, I still have like instances back from like when I was younger. It's like, like where things are embarrassing or whatever. It's like, yeah, man. Like, so like, how were you able to overcome that so quickly? Like, well, like
I don't know. I think there was just something that clicked in my head.
Shit.
Like I was just looking at myself, and I'm like, why am I? This is all mental. So if I can try to conquer the mental aspect, then failing doesn't sting as much.
No, and that's so powerful.
It won't influence the next time that you try to take a risk.
And did that did you carry that with you?
Oh yeah.
So like that's it definitely stuck around.
Airband 2000 is like, it's kind of like this armor.
No shit.
Yeah.
I love that, man. That's such a powerful lesson to learn at such a young age, man. Especially grade 10. That like the mind is more powerful than any situation or any substance or anything.
Yeah.
Super incredible, man. That's cool. That's really cool. Cool, man. So so that's back. Growing up, like how did you eventually get into art, man? Like what was like growing up? Like where did you grow up, dude?
Well, I know you're not into sports, but basketball was how I got into art.
No way. Well, whatever. Let's hear about like.
So I played basketball since I was 5 years old, and throughout high school, that's all I did. I didn't really pay attention in classes. I didn't do really well actually at school.
Oh, no shit.
And like I can remember a time where I was skipping class and I was in the gym and I was practicing free throws, and one of the principals comes in and he yells at everybody to get to class, get out of here, and I just like kept shooting free throws, and the principal came down and like caught rebounds for me and was like passing and like talking about basketball with me while I'm skipping class.
What? Why were you so special?
Because that's all I did was basketball.
Yeah, I know, but wouldn't you be like, well, you also need to learn and get some goddamn education?
Well, yeah.
Like, what the hell? Like,
oh, totally. Totally.
Maybe if you're like 8 feet tall and just dunking at 5, then sure, you're going to the NBA. But I don't know.
But I was pretty good.
Oh, okay. Like you think you're like had potential to like really make it. Like that was. I guess. Well, no. When you're that old, who actually?
No, not like NBA good.
Okay, I know nothing about sports. I'm sorry. I know absolutely nothing.
So, anyways,
about sports.
it consumed me for my early 20s. Yeah, and like I played at a bunch of different colleges. I played at Mount Royal. I played at UBC Okanagan, UNBC, and then once I stopped playing basketball, I went to Greece. I was invited to this pro camp down in Utah, and I went down to Greece and was like training with this team, and then the team went bankrupt, so I came back.
That's huge, man. So you're like pro, sort of semi-pro, man.
Well, I really was dedicated to the sport. You know, like I knew that like I needed to spend way more time in the gym if I was going to be going anywhere further than, you know, playing Division III European basketball, which is like, you know, I don't know, would be like university basketball here in Canada.
Fair. So then how did the art come in? Like,
once I came back from Greece, you know, all the dream was over.
Okay. So time to find something new.
Yeah. So I was, you know, I liked art, and I was in the fine arts department, and so I think it really stimulated the creative aspect. Like I'm a very competitive person. So when I was in the fine arts department, there's all these other really good artists, and I was really shitty at art.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, and I didn't want to be shitty. I wanted to be the best.
Yeah.
So I really like drived in and focused, and, you know, was just like working heavy hours and was coming up with these projects that, you know, got a lot of attention. And that's where it really drived my new.
So you're playing
passion.
basketball, and you were in the art division out of school, or like
when I was playing basketball, the fine arts thing, was just so that I could play basketball.
Oh, okay. So so you just like, what's the easiest thing that I can take?
Then when basketball when that goal ended, I was like, okay,
I gotta fall back on my fine arts degree.
I gotta actually focus on what I've got right now.
Yeah.
So I started doing really well because like the amount of hours that I was putting into basketball now got transitioned into fine arts, and
powerful.
And I think the professors, they saw that shift, and they're like, whoa, this guy could be something here.
Well, if you make it that far in basketball league where you're playing, you know, in other countries, man, that work ethic is that's some unmatched work ethic by most people. So I mean, I think that's probably one of the greatest gifts. Like anyone who's ever worked really hard at a sport or gotten like I don't know, close to that pro or semi-pro spot, I feel like that person will always be able to take those skill sets to any trade, any practice, anything. Like it's, or at least
if you had like this very ambitious goal, that's something that, you know, is very rare to reach, but you failed, but at least you tried the best you could to get to that goal.
Totally.
I think that those people have a lot more to give
Being able to have that singular focus for, not just like a couple weeks, a couple months, or a couple years, but you're like saying like a decade, when you're really able to have that focus and focus in on one thing for that long. It just builds these phenomenal like neural pathways of like learning that you can just easily transition to, whoa, okay. That's hilarious. Phone's going off. We got some spooky ghosts happening. Sorry, lost my train.
Spooky in here.
Yeah. I've been waiting to press that button. So sort of lost the train of thought there. But so basketball. You took the drive of basketball, put it into your art degree, and now you're crushing it at art. So now why don't we get into maybe like where you're at now with like, let's move forward into, you discovered cannabis through this basketball player. Now you've been smoking for a little bit. You moved to Calgary.
Yeah.
What are some of your like first art projects that you started, getting into after, cannabis?
Well, I just did a lot of, abstract, like watercolor painting at first, and then just like dabbling with drawing portraits and just like kind of going with the flow of the watercolor as well. Like I would draw over top of it, and sometimes the process, if I could explain it, it's like when you're looking up in the clouds, you can see like a rhinoceros, or you can see whatever. Comes to mind, like it's like a subconscious thing that our brains do, so when I would do these paintings, I'd look in the wash, like the abstract, and I could see these images of different faces or animals, and
you start bringing it out, kind of
draw like the shadows, and like add the contrast.
Okay, and like so, was this like a big art project? Was this like or is this like your first?
This was just me going. I don't have a studio. I don't have like a welder. I don't have a plasma cutter.
Okay,
I don't have like all the stuff, all the tools that I used to have. So now I have to, work in a little, office studio drawing on a sheet of paper with, a limited amount of mess as well, with watercolor. And then it also helps to, be working in the public system where I'm teaching in an art. Like I have like my own little art studio.
Okay.
Right?
So this is
like
at your place?
Yeah.
Oh, I know at the school you teach at.
Yeah.
You have your own little art studio.
Yeah.
So you got supplies, you got a place that you can actually make stuff.
Yeah.
So and like how long have you been at the school for?
Well, I've been teaching art.
Or teaching art, I guess.
I've been teaching art for like, I would say about 13 years.
Oh, okay, cool, man.
Yeah, like I've taught.
So even when you're playing basketball,
anywhere from
throughout all
like
this,
kindergarten all the way up to like senior.
Okay.
So I've taught every generation.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
And one interesting thing that I tend to do with all my classes is I ask the students, do they think that they're an artist? Like, would you identify yourself as an artist? And the interesting thing at the lowest level, like at kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, like I'll say, do you think you're an artist? If you think you're an artist, put up your hand. Mm-hmm. And like, what do you think?
I think 90% say yes.
They all put up their hand.
Yeah.
But as they get older, and as I started teaching the older generations, mm-hmm. Less kids put up their hand when you ask them, do you think you're an artist? And it gets to the point where it's at adult level where no one puts their hand up.
Dude, isn't that messed up?
Yeah.
Like, cause like, I mean, like what else, like what drives people's, like what drives passion, man? Everybody loves art and we don't even know it. Like, that's why we love TV, movies or paintings or whatever. I think we just, once you get to a certain point and like, you can't draw, you've never made anything beautiful. I think you're just like, oh, I'm just never going to be able to make anything cool. Right. And, it's kind of unfortunate because like, you shouldn't really let age deter you from like being creative. Like, I mean, if anything, it'll help keep you youthful and like help keep that inner child alive, man. Because if you lose that, dude, I feel like here comes death.
Yeah. Well, I think it's not just the inner child. I think it's like an aspect that every human should carry with them. They should carry a like an artistic sensibility.
Like, you know your ABCs. You should know how to fucking draw a little something more than a stick figure or something.
Yeah, or even just have the ability to take, you know, concepts, ideas, and add to them and come up with some kind of creative concept.
Totally.
You know, it doesn't have to be a painting. Like you could really pick up on, you know, understanding sound or video or whatever. But everyone should have that inner artist in them. And for some reason within our school system or within society, we try to take that out. And I think it really stems to that there's only one way to do something. There's only one answer.
True, yeah. There's only one learning style.
Yeah,
like
1 + 1 = 2.
Exactly.
But what is 2? Is 2, you know, 2 red balls?
Well, here's the thing. Who asked what is?
I don't know why.
No. But that's an important. Here's the thing. It's an important thing because you're pointing out the lack of critical thinking. No one's asking the what. No one's asking the whys. People are sitting down in schools for 8 hours a day, and just taking in like information and like, man, a lot of it's antiquated, man, and not really relevant. And like when you get to the real world, it's not going to help you pay taxes. It's not going to help you, you know, fill out a check, or it's not going to help you do your online banking and stuff. You know what I mean? Like. Yeah. Dude, yeah, that's a whole nother thing, and we'll try and stay in scope with the art. But yeah, man. So now
I just think that with the way that technology is developing, I think it's going to be very important for everybody to have the sensibility to be able to express themselves on an individual basis.
Totally,
where people can almost identify, you know, Dustin's style, his swagger, or whatever it is, right? Like your creative expression.
Well, we're living at the best time to ever do that, because anybody can have a podcast. Anybody can make some beats and write a track. Like even 100 years ago, like, I mean, to own a guitar would be like pretty gnarly, or to own a piano. Like not everyone had like, dude, you can go get a $20 keyboard. Like we're in a crazy era right now where, you know, you can be as creative as you want, but I think sometimes having more options can almost make where do you start with creativity? Yeah. So in an era of technology where we're smothered with options to be creative, how do you find ways to become more like creative? Where do you find inspiration? And how often are you diving to cannabis for inspiration, or do you find more inspiration just in like your day to day? Like,
well, I think that what cannabis does is it scrambles your brain in a way where you're reaching all the different parts of your senses all at the same time.
Okay, that's an interesting way to describe it. Yeah.
It really, I don't know. It kind of like sets you at a very like a nice tone to focus in on one thing and just kind of go with the flow, whether you're making mistakes or not. So I think in that process where you're in that high, sometimes you can find a new technique, or you can you can discover something that you didn't know before.
Totally.
What you're doing.
It really, this is one thing about cannabis, right? It really does lift a lot of the boundaries off your cognition. The one thing I've always, because I've taken a lot of time off of cannabis, like I've been smoking for almost 20 years now, and I've had periods where I've taken a year off. I've had periods where I've taken several months off, and everything in between. And I think the biggest thing I notice the most is when I'm smoking less cannabis, I'm also thinking less. It's like I go through my day to day, and it's cool. Like the day goes on normal, everything's cool. I never feel like I need cannabis to live or whatever. Like I can totally be fine without smoking, but it does make my life better. But that's the one thing I always notice is like every time I stop smoking cannabis, and like the longer I don't smoke, it's like the less I think, and the easier I fall into these daily loops. Right, like, wake up X amount of time, have the coffee, sit on the couch, go in the shower, go to work. Yeah. When I am smoking cannabis, I feel like I'm constantly I'm constantly judging, like, am I doing this right? What does the future look like? Could I be doing more? Am I pushing myself hard enough? Because I'm constantly going to all those parts of my brain, and like, especially maybe that's not with everybody. Like, I don't know. I feel like I've been a fairly motivated person most of my life. You seem like that as well. Yeah. So at least for me, it's always forced me to look objectively at my life and find ways to improve. But don't get me wrong, it's also forced a lot of like anxieties and fears that I've had to like face and deal with. And I've also noticed trick is like, because like sometimes when I have dealt with tough times, I've stopped smoking cannabis because like, I feel like the cannabis is making life unstable, or I'm having anxiety because of the cannabis. And I know this does happen with people. But when I find, so I would think, I need to stop smoking cannabis so I can process these emotions. That's what I would think. So I'd stop smoking cannabis, but what I would end up doing is just suppressing a lot of it and just forgetting a lot of the emotions, right? But when I do smoke cannabis and bring that stuff to the forefront, it just forces me to deal with it. And when I do process it on my own and sit with whatever is bothering with me and really work it out, then after that, I move on with it. Like, I don't know. You find yourself burying so much stuff sometimes in your day-to-day life. And I don't know, cannabis sometimes just helps you. It helps you process the struggles of life once in a while.
Well, I think that it can be, you have to have the right mindset. You have to understand that it's going to scramble your logic a little bit.
You're right. There's
going to be a little bit of a scramble, but that you have to find that feeling of scramble as fun and like a fun place, and then reflect on what's happening, because some very creative like ideas can sprout in those moments.
Totally.
But it may not be coherent. Like sometimes, like if you get you're really high, like
yeah,
I don't even know, something like these listeners right now. Like I'm pretty baked right now, and I don't know if they're able to like follow that high logic.
No, you're doing relatively good. Okay. I think everyone who smokes can definitely, like, we all experience a similar high, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, man. No, interesting stuff. Let's so now let's maybe talk about a few more, like, what do you got going on coming up? Like,
I've got a big event. It's called Puff and Paint.
Yeah, so there's Puff and Paint. Yeah. What? Yeah, that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, so I just like the wine and paint night has become so popular. It's become almost a trend. So I wanted to, bring that to weed and my style, like with the pointillism.
Try and bring the mic up a little bit, bro.
My style with the pointillism.
Yeah.
It lends itself to, I think, smoking weed. Because you're in that calm space, but you're also able to just kind of go with the flow. It's just the way that the technique actually goes about, and that's what I'm going to do in the class. I'm going to teach people how to use that technique in ways where, while you're high, it kind of kind of flows.
Totally. A little effortless, right?
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's really neat. Like, I think this is definitely the future too, is like these cannabis smoking experiences. Cause I mean, people who drink, they got, you know, whatever, you got your beer pongs, you got your drinking games, you got your bars and all that. And I'm very confident that, like, you know, in the future, it will be like, yeah, these puffin paints, or like smoke and go ride some horses, or like smoke and go like rock climbing. I mean, you know, but not like real rock climbing, but like, you know, with the straps and stuff like that. Because you know what, man, anytime you do something high, it just makes it 1,000 times better. Yeah. It really does. Like, because at the end of the day, when you want to get down to the science of it, all we're doing is stimulating our minds with cannabis. All we're doing is peaking it up, stimulating those CB1 receptors in the cerebral cortex, and we're basically heightening all our senses, putting all our 5 senses on like hyperdrive. And sometimes that can be overwhelming for people. But man, when you can learn to ride that wave and like just go with it, it's just the funnest time on the planet. And is why everyone loves weed. Because life can be very dull, and life can be hard, and life can be fucking you're rough sometimes. And weed, like, cannabis washes like all the bullshit of life away, and like almost allows you to just like just be present, be happy, be light, be like what a human being should be, man. Like, we're not supposed to be these giant stress balls of anxiety and fear, man. Like we should be able to like converse with each other and not have to, like, you know, stare each other down nervously walking down the street, nervous someone's gonna say something, man. It's well,
and that's precisely that's why I incorporate marijuana when I'm talking about my art, is because it allows you to be present in the moment, and within that corresponds with the way that I've done art always. Is being present and just going with it, but also improvising in the moment.
Totally. Yeah, flowing, man. And that speaks to cannabis, right? Like, you know, it's good to have a little bit of structure so you can have something to follow, but then like, at least if you want to go outside the lines, man, you can still make something beautiful, right? Like, cause you got that structure to work within, right?
Yeah. It as things transpire, you're able to, improvise and, like discover new things. And while you're discovering new things, like your art, you know, has that extra layer. Because I have a belief that there's a saying, details tell, stories sell.
Okay, yeah.
So like if I have a story or a narrative that's connected to my art, then more people are going to want to be interested. More people are going to want to be able to empathize or be able to reflect on whatever I'm doing. But if I'm just like copying, you know, some kind of detail, like just I'm just doing a portrait just for the sake of doing a portrait.
Who gives a shit, right? Yeah.
You know, I'm just doing a landscape just for the sake of doing a landscape. Like it doesn't, that's just details. There's no story there. So that's really what I'm working on right now. And that actually is, currently this piece that I'm doing where I'm going every Sunday.
Oh shit. Okay. Wait. Okay. So this is gonna be the deal. So this is pretty cool. So I'll have you tell the story, because this is gonna be a great story, everyone. He's got a very awesome project, and then after that we're gonna get in some news, and we'll get into a little bit of that endocannabinoid system. But okay. we'll finish up with this story. And I can't wait. So here we go, guys. So he has a very fascinating little science project, or an artistic project. So take it away, man. Hell yeah.
Well, I think I'm pretty good right now.
Yeah, do your bro. Yeah. Don't even try to keep up with me. There's no point. Just let me know when you want some more joints. So we rolled up like 8 joints for this. I feel like we needed 10 joints for this. But because we only got 4 left and we're halfway through this. So, but whatever. So
no, I'm feeling a second wind coming on right now, which is good.
Dude, love it, man.
I'm feeling the wave. I'm like something's actually hitting me right now,
dude.
I can feel it.
Roll with it, man.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. So let's hear this beautiful little science project you got going.
Okay, so man, I almost feel like like the amount that I'm sharing right now on this podcast, like you guys should almost fuzz out my face. Because this is like, yikes.
This is pretty, it's going to be a pretty underground podcast, dude.
Okay. So I just one Sunday morning, I woke up and I was like, I just want to go to a church. And I'm not religious at all. Maybe very like opposite that.
Borderline atheist. Agnostic, we'll say.
I would just say basically atheist.
Okay.
Yeah, not borderline.
Just atheist.
Pretty much, yeah.
An atheist wants to go to church. Atheist wakes up and he wants to go to church. This is starting to be a good joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on a side note,
yeah.
I mean, we all are actually atheists. I'm just going one God further.
Okay. Well, elaborate first.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, I wake up and
elaborate first on the saying of like you think we're all atheists. How do you figure we're all atheists?
Oh, okay. So like if you believe in a God,
yeah,
you got to pick which one is it. So if you're a Christian God,
yeah,
then you're an atheist towards Allah. You're an atheist towards Buddha.
Well, you're
an atheist towards.
Isn't the definition
Zeus.
of an atheist believing in nothing?
Well, I just not believing that there's a God.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think like partially we're all atheists.
Because we don't believe in the other gods, but we believe in one God.
Yeah.
Play on semantics. But let's get
So moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
So I'm like, okay.
Atheist wants to go to church.
I wanna like I've had this idea to just suspend all my beliefs and all my like my comforts around the way that the world actually or how reality actually functions.
Got it.
So like my spiritual beliefs and shelf them, just kind of put them on the side and just embrace this process of improvisation where I go into a church and just go with the flow, just go with the culture of the church and just be like, just try to fill in wherever you can.
Totally.
But never really taking a solid position, always being right on the tightrope. So if someone says like, what are your beliefs around Jesus and God? I'll just be like, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling with it. I think I need some more time, need some more contemplation, and then just like go with it that way and just keep going.
Totes.
Just seeing where
seeing what they say to you, seeing if they want to like sort of encourage you more. Yeah.
And I don't know how far I want to go with this. It's like it's a lot of anxiety.
Well, you're in deep right now.
There's some anxiety around it because like I don't want to like.
Someone said, tell them about the church that you chose first of all. Like, tell them that you didn't just pick a normal church. Like, you didn't just like.
Well, I'm not gonna say the name of
it. No. But tell them the style of church, right? Because like, there's the ones where it's like lame, whatever. You sit there for an hour, but yeah. You straight up pick like a crazy evangelical, ah la 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 la, speaking in tongues, ooh la 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 la, kind of local Calgary church.
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised how many churches are like that.
You'd
be surprised.
I believe
how
it.
Many
I'm sure.
People you spend daily, in your day to day, that on a Sunday will turn it on and go,
go bonkers.
Do that like jazzy skit,
Yeah.
Speaking in
skippity
tongues.
doo bop bop but yeah. Okay. So okay.
But it does have kind of a style to it, speaking in tongues. There is like a
okay, one sec. Before we get into speaking in tongues and all this, let's get to okay. You woke up, you wanted to go to church.
Bring us back on track.
Yeah, you woke up, wanted to go to church. And so you chose this church. Let's talk about the church you chose and your first day.
Okay,
your first day.
So I love music. I go to so many concerts, and on a Sunday morning, you go into one of these Baptist churches, and it is like a sick concert. Like you've got awesome drummer, guitar, bass, the vocalists.
Okay, whole shebang, man.
Yeah,
cool.
and then you have all these people that are in the congregation or like that are like members that are in the audience. They're singing.
Yeah,
and they've got like amazing voices as well.
So they're rocking out, good bands.
Oh yeah,
okay.
And everyone's like got their hands up. They're all just having a blast.
Okay, so this church is pretty wild. It's pretty, everyone's getting in there, everyone's dancing, shaking, letting out all the evil spirits and all the demons.
Well, I mean, if you just look at it in a way where, you know, you're just celebrating.
Of course,
you're
man.
having fun.
Yeah, it's groovy, man.
And you can sing along. But it's just like you don't like deep down inside you just don't really believe.
So your first day, bro.
So yeah,
you wake up, you decide I'm choosing a church. And I'm committed. You're actually committed to go now.
Yeah.
And tell me what it's like. Tell me the first day. Tell me walking up. Who did you talk to? What was it like?
Oh man. So it just gives you those the goosebumps a little bit. So like awkward.
Wait, man, you're all about
awkward.
Breaking boundaries and stuff. So this is part of the.
It's like I don't even know why I get myself into these situations, but I'm just in them.
Bro, you gotta talk about it though.
So so I walk in, and I'm early, because I wanted to hit the 10 a.m. service, but I guess it was a 9 a.m. service. And the next one is at 11.
Oh, so you're really early.
Yeah. So I'm an hour early. So I'm at their little coffee shop, and I just like shooting the shit with the guy there, just talking about Jesus and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just talk about like all the things that I love about the Bible, like all the stories.
Totally.
You know?
You're being genuine, like you're being honest, you're going for the experience. It's like you're not even really doing anything like that. Like really, man, like at the heart of it, dude, you're just a child going to check out something that you're kind of curious about, man.
I'm trying to toe the line between, because I don't want this to be a mockery.
Of course.
Like,
you're doing it very respectful.
I'm not in it to mock.
Of course.
You know, like I'm in it to like,
but it's also a little art
really
piece.
Embrace that theatrical spirit.
Exactly, man.
You know,
it's like how an actor prepares for a role. Like if you're gonna be, I'm gonna be a Christian, so I'm gonna go learn how to what is that like to prepare for a role, man. Yeah. So preparing. So getting into this mindset. I guess it is.
It's like a method acting.
Dude, 100%. That's what I was trying to look for is method acting. Yeah. So in this sort of learning experience or this sort of dive into sort of like a method acting experience, like as your character, what was it like talking to these people, and how did your character like converse with them? Like,
well, I'm trying not. This is the crazy thing. I'm trying not to be a character.
No, but here's the thing. You're not also being yourself either.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, so
it's this ambiguous.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my protest piece where I'm not actually a character. Like I'm whatever you make me of. Like totally. I'm just like a moldable entity. And like the way that I try to communicate is stay in that ambiguous zone.
So what's it like being at the church? What's it like being there with these people? Well, I think
now, because I've been there 4 times.
4 times. You've been there. So like this is a commitment, guys. Like 4 times. You've been there 4 times. Like, okay, so you've been there 4 times.
Yeah.
You're in with them. They think you're Chad, the Jesus on the fence guy. Like
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. They don't know what to make of me, I think.
Yeah.
I think right now they're kind of standoffish. Like I've done a few prayers.
Yeah.
Right? Where I like actually put my hand on somebody's like shoulder or something.
Okay.
And this one it was just so awkward.
It sounds awkward. Okay, it sounds
one of these awkward moments.
It sounds horrible.
So I go to put my hand and I don't know, this guy had this girl's hand like this.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know where to put my hand. So I just kind of like grabbed her wrist like this.
Yeah.
But it's just such an awkward
So it's all
awkward place to grab.
Yeah.
Right? And she's kind of like, she feels awkward and I feel awkward. But we gotta like power through and sit through this prayer.
Yeah.
Like we gotta put our heads down and really like focus through it. I'm like, I know this is not, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't want to like let go and then find a different spot. I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah. You're committed.
So I'm like navigating.
So what do you think, man? What's this experiment? Are you going to continue with it? Are you finding Jesus? Or what's up, buddy?
Well, I kind of want to, I don't know. I almost feel like maybe there's a way to bridge the gap between your non-believers and your believers, or your conservative Christian and your liberal Christian.
Okay.
Like somewhere where,
cool.
like, if I play in this ambiguous zone, because like this church is really conservative. Like they are,
oh, dude, they're all
not for gay
crazy.
rights. They're not for like choice.
Yeah,
they're like full on, and they want to be very like activist about it, I think.
So you're kind of in hot water right now.
But I think maybe, I might be able to bridge that gap of like the conversation and find a way to allow both sides to empathize. Because I think the left also doesn't empathize enough with the right.
Oh, bro, that's just getting way too deep, bro. I don't
know.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Religion, all that stuff, that's craziness.
But just like think like, okay, I don't know where you stand on abortion, but
bro. Okay, let's stay on. Okay, I am not getting on this. We're gonna shift gears, guys. Here. Sometimes these stoner conversations get off the rails. It is what it is. It was a very fun experiment, though, that I thought was hilarious. But I think my friend might be a little too deep now. But it's cool. I know it's too funny. I think this is a really funny little experiment. But we'll see how it goes, man. Keep me posted. It's definitely been some good laughs hearing about someone who's just such a non-believer and like taking this approach, because I've just never heard anyone at 36 years old being like, oh, I'm an atheist and now I'm gonna go experiment and see what it's like, like being Jesus. Yeah. So no, I just thought it was a super cool story. I thought it was hilarious, but cool. So yeah, now that was fantastic. Good little I don't know, horrible segue, but whatever. And now we got the Puffin Pain coming up on February 22nd.
Yep.
Super exciting.
Yep.
I believe there's still a couple tickets left, so I'm going to be definitely going there, and definitely can't wait for that. It's going to be the first of many too, right? Can't wait to see what's going to be coming up next for these Puffin Pains. And other events. 1017's always putting on gnarly stuff. And speaking of that, let's maybe get in the news, buddy. Let's get into all the fun stuff that's happened. We got a few topics. So like first, let's just go into one of the big ones, in that I'm hoping this will actually transition over into Canada, because it's super unfortunate. So Los Angeles County District basically just announced their district attorney will be filing a motion to expunge over 66,000 marijuana convictions going back to 1961. So super, super powerful. I mean, it's only a single state, or Los Angeles County. It's not even a state; it's a county. But that's incredible, 66,000. And I mean, I really hope Canada's going to follow suit with something like that, because it's super sad to know that there's literally probably hundreds of thousands of people who have simple possession charges right now, who are struggling to get jobs. Like, you can't work at Safeway, or you can't get a liquor. You can't work at a liquor store if you have a criminal record. Like, for something as simple as weed. So I thought that was super impressive. Like 66,000 people, right? So that was one of the first little news articles that sort of caught my eye. So, and then the next big one here is
I think like we can talk about
man, totally. Yeah, you want to vibe on it? Yeah, totally.
Sure.
Yeah, totally. What do you got on it, man? Totally. Yeah, first time doing this, so yeah, man. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I think that's like a huge step forward, right? Like,
dude, 100%, man.
Like for people to move on, because a lot of those people probably aren't really violent criminals. Like, they're just people that wanted to relax and, smoke a joint. And then some police officer, caught them doing it. And then, like, that just ruined their life.
Totally, man.
Like, over something, like, so insignificant.
And it's just medication, and then especially for the American listeners too. Like, I mean, I think it's even harder if you got a criminal record to get any type of job or do anything. So I think good on the Los Angeles County and Jackie Lacey for busting that up.
Yeah.
Let's hope Canada follows suit. And like the next big one too is like, hey, legal vaporizers and edibles are finally on the market.
Yeah.
Right. Edibles have been going for a little while now. Kind of one unfortunate thing about the edibles is it's going to be max 10 milligrams per package. So like if you get a drink like this, that'll only be allowed to have 10 milligrams of THC in this. Or if you get like a chocolate bar, 10 milligrams. So are you familiar with like how much 10 milligrams really is?
It's very, very tiny.
Dude, like I would eat like 300 milligrams to like feel something.
Yeah.
So for the average person, I would say for the average person, like who's never smoked anywhere or done it, I think 50 to 100 milligrams.
50,
Yeah, 40 to 50. So, like, what are you going to eat? Like 5 chocolate bars to catch a buzz? Like, what? It's kind of madness. But
my fiance, like there's, if you have a little bit too much, right, with an edible, you're gonna have an episode.
Yeah, dude, edibles are deadly, man. Well, and then I think that's why they're trying to make the doses smaller. And the reason for that is because when you actually eat edibles, it metabolizes into 11-hydroxy metabolite. And that's I think it's like, I don't know, it's a few hundred times more powerful than THC, this 11-hydroxy metabolite. And it metabolizes in the liver. That's why it lasts for much longer, the edible high. Man. Gnarly. And there's no getting out of it. Like, when you smoke weed, dude, you can at least eat some food and, like, chill out. But, man, when you eat too many edibles, man, like, it's because it's able to pass the blood-brain barrier. So that's why it lasts, like, much, much longer. I'll do some more. I can do, like, this is just off the top of my head. I can do a better episode on that and clarify all how edibles hit you differently, because the science behind that is super-duper fascinating. So that's kind of a bummer with the 10 milligrams, but we'll see how all that goes. The big news with that is we all kind of knew that edibles have been legal for a couple months, but it was just recently February 7th that vaporizers have been legalized. So just 3 days ago, the rollout is going to be happening over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Basically all 416 Alberta retailers were notified that they're able to start ordering from provincial wholesalers. So over the next couple of weeks, coming by the end of February or early March, you should see the majority of the vaporizer products that are available on the retailer shelves. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Are you much of a vapor, dude? You get into vapes or
Well, I've done a little bit, but the thing that I worry about with the vaping is, like, I don't know, like, I don't know if I'd want it'd be to, like, easier access to younger generations.
Well, of course, that's pretty standard, right? Like, yeah, we don't want the younger kids smoking it. But, like, you yourself, have you experimented with much, like, distillate or, like, the diamonds and stuff? Yeah, and, like, what's your opinion on, do you like the distillates, or do you like more of the full spectrum?
You worry, what's inside it.
Definitely.
That's the one thing, like, when you're and then again, when you're smoking, weed from the government, you don't know either. Like, there's a lot of chemicals and pesticides and things like that maybe they haven't cleaned, that are in those packaging. So like there's a lot of that stuff that's you have to weigh those risks. But a lot of you hear some of those horror stories of lungs collapsing and
totally
huge infections.
Totally. Yeah, with the vaporizers and stuff. Like, let's hope let's hope they really got that figured out in the legal market. I mean, my biggest concern with just the vaporizers in the legal market in general, or just like just those distillates and those carts in general, is just the processing. Like,
Totally.
There's a lot to create it. To make that type of distillate, you need to run a bunch of cannabis through a giant multi-column closed loop system where you shove a bunch. It's basically a bunch of tubes. It's like 5 or 6 tubes. One of them you fill up with material and solvents, and then the rest are just other purge chambers to basically take like the waxes and fats away from the cannabis, so you just get the resin. But when you blast all these solvents through it, you're actually, I don't think, like, I mean, I'm no scientist here, but I'll call myself a scientist, but to be real, I ain't no scientist. In my opinion, you're destroying a lot of those cannabinoids and terpenes. Yeah. And yeah, at the end product, it tastes good, it's nice, but man, if you got to run it through a bunch of crazy ass tubes, put it through a bunch of solvents, then you got to put it in a vacuum purge chamber for X amount of days. All the handling, everything that happens in between it, there's just too many points of contamination, especially when there's technology out there like rosin and rosin presses where you can do it totally solventless. Just use heat and pressure to extract your full spectrum extract, and you can turn that into carts, you can turn that into shatter, you can make whatever you want. You don't need $20,000 units and $10,000 vacuum purge ovens to make a good cannabis concentrate.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching your or following your Instagram. And like you doing the pressing. Yeah,
man. Yeah, the rosin press. It's just, dude, it's the safest, cleanest way to get it, man. It's phenomenal. And rosin's I don't know if rosin's on the market yet, but I'm sure that will be following the vape rollout. But I can't say for sure. This article, this is from Biz Daily, Alberta, was just talking about the vape rollout. But yeah, so it looks like most provinces have just seen a limited rollout and a lot of delayed releases. But the one unfortunate thing is everyone in Quebec and Newfoundland still will not be seeing vaporizers. It's still going to be banned in Quebec and Newfoundland. They're really cracking down. I don't know what the deal is, but all other provinces...
You say Newfoundland?
Newfoundland. I don't know, man. Newfoundland, Newfoundland,
Newfoundland,
Newfoundland, Newfoundland.
I say Newfoundland. Is that the right way to do it?
I don't know.
But I like that. Well, I mean,
Newfoundland,
it's Newfoundland.
Newfoundland,
that's what it is.
Newfoundland. Yeah.
Like
so Newfoundland.
You gotta say it like that, though.
Newfoundland, Newfoundland and Quebec. You guys won't be seeing vapes, unfortunately. And this was all comes from Angela Sassaville from the AGLC. She's the AGLC spokeswoman. And yeah, consumers will have products on the shelves in a couple of weeks. So yeah.
The big thing is just making sure that it's safe, and like we're actually monitoring it.
Oh yeah.
Unlike a lot of other products that we put on the shelves for some reason.
This is true, and hey man, it's a growing pain.
I saw like there was some kind of skin cream that was out that had like, I don't know, like the worst kind of chemicals.
Bro,
skin.
This is why you gotta do your research before you buy anything, man. Do your research. So and say with the edibles, everyone, before you go buying legal vapes and before you go buying legal edibles, like ask yourself what's in these edibles. What are they using to make the edibles? Are they using a distillate? Are they using a full spectrum extract? Are they using live resins? Are they using are they using rosin? Are they using hash? Like what are they putting in your edibles? So let's move on because the next super exciting thing is we might have not vape lounges, but smoking lounges coming. So, Edmonton City Councilor Mike Nickel is pushing his city, to adopt bylaws allowing for cannabis lounges, making Edmonton the nation's first municipality to consider, legal consumption sites.
Well, it makes sense.
Right?
I mean, like,
how crazy is that?
Be so cold outside all the time like I am. You know?
Well, dude, they were actually going to allow consumption in Calgary in the parks. You have like consumption sites in the parks, but there's such an outrage from the community that they decided against it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like,
dude, come on, really? In parks?
No, I don't think that we should be forcing, like our like it's like
but a designated
heavy
smoking area
scent.
in the park that you can.
I don't know.
Downwind.
I like the lounge because it's like it's a place where
You're
it's
right.
like it doesn't disrupt anybody.
So that's
and it's
actually
in a safe spot, and it's like, you know, all like-minded people, you know, go to it, smoke, and chill.
So I think you raise a very valid point right there. Like, yeah, fine. If you want to take it out of the parks and you want to take it out of like the public, give us a smoke lounge.
Yeah, I think it would work really well
Yeah.
for like law enforcement and all that. Like it's got to be super awkward sometimes with cops, where like they'll be walking by and they'll like smell a joint and they'll see somebody smoke and be like, oh, I
Yeah,
don't have to give this
totally.
guy a fine.
Totally.
This is lame.
Totally.
So, you know, a lounge is a perfect idea.
Bro, can't wait, man. Yeah. So, and another thing is too, like, most provinces, like specifically Ontario, like have been really against lounges. But the one thing like us Albertans have to look forward to is like Alberta has been actually pretty like pro lounge and really just pro cannabis in general. Like we have 416 stores in Alberta.
Yeah.
That's more than almost any other province that I know of. Maybe there's another province with more, but 460, I'm pretty sure, is most have all the provinces. So if you're living in Alberta, I feel like this is a really good spot. I mean, because a lot of BC is getting clamped down on. It seems like more stuff is getting raided. The legal dispensaries that were once the kind of the mecca to kind of go to are now kind of getting cramped down on. But out here, man, Alberta is really starting to thrive. There's a real community building out here. 1017 is a huge part of that too.
What
and
about like the farms? Like, are there?
There's
lots
of farms out here too.
Is?
Yeah, man, totally. Who's the big one out here? Is it Aurora that's out here? I don't know. I can't remember. There's a big one that's out here. There's a couple. And plus we also have out in Olds, we have a school that you can go and grow at. They teach you how to grow.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunities out here.
I wonder what the economy, like how, like what the percentage is, and like what the growth, like if you saw a scale, like since cannabis has been legalized, like is the, you know, the economy, the weed economy in Alberta, has it went up and how fast?
Oh yeah, of course, man. 416 stores, man. This government's raking in money on the taxes, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're capitalizing on it more than any other province, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know shit. I'm just a fucking stoner, but from what I can see, it really seems that Alberta's really taken full advantage, and it's super exciting. I can't wait for the consumption lounges. It's going to be next level, and I don't think they're that far away. Popular. Yeah, I think once Edmonton comes through with one, you think Calgary's going to let Edmonton just have a consumption lounge and make a bunch of bank, and us not have one here. So. Yeah, man, I think it's going to be very popular, and man, what a cool hotspot of like good conversation. And like, because here's the thing, a lot of people, like most stoners aren't the stereotypical, well, okay, I shouldn't say that. It's all in the groups. It's all in the groups you hang with. But like, at least a lot of the people that I've learned to surround myself with who smoke cannabis are very intelligent people and like have good heads on their shoulders and like are just... I'm amazed by more stoners than I am by your average person for the most part.
Yeah.
But so there is something to be said about having some cool lounges, getting some cool minds together, and who knows what can come out of it, man. It could be super powerful stuff. And you know, all the dumb stoners are gonna be chilling with the dumb stoners anyways, so we don't really have to worry about it. You know, not really letting fucking.
Well, I think if you pair it with. Like if these lounges paired it with some kind of.
I'm not saying everyone's. I shouldn't say there's dumb stoners. There's just people who are just at lower levels of learning and they're working their way up. I don't want to be mean. So sorry.
So like I think that if like these lounges, if they pair it with something like, for example, like a puff and paint,
yeah,
or like like they're like having events,
little art shows,
have like an arcade.
Bro, hell yeah.
When you're high, you like
Counter-Strike LAN games, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Like people will love that.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else you could think of, but I'm
Dude,
sure.
Yeah, man, good food, man. Sandwiches, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like, dude, just like your general
food.
stoner stuff, man. Like laser tag, dude, stoner laser tag, bro, all day.
Oh, you're right.
Hell yeah, man. Come on, Consumption Lounge. Let's get a laser tag at the Consumption Lounge, bro. Like, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So let's go on to another one. This one's from Global News. This is a super interesting one. Let's see. So it's out of Western University. A PhD graduate recently discovered CBD is capable of blocking the sort of the unwanted psychoactive effects of THC, the paranoia, the anxiety. So by doing some research, they were able to find out that THC actually stimulates this ERK molecule. It's not as much a molecule as it is a system that operates in our hippocampus. And if you're familiar with the hippocampus, it's responsible for basically memory and learning. So with THC bringing this huge stimulation to, not only the hippocampus, but the cerebral cortex, to every part of the brain. Yeah. With some people who, maybe never really dealt with a lot of anxiety or weren't ever put in stressful spots, like that can be very overwhelming. So they were able to find that when you combine CBD with THC, it actually down regulates this molecule or the effect that the system has on the hippocampus. So it prevents a lot of that anxiety and that paranoia feeling when you combine the CBD with the THC, which is something that a lot of people have known about, but this is sort of one of the first times that they've been able to, prove it, and it's been written up in a scientific journal.
So it's kind of it's like messing with your memory.
So that's a part of it. Yes, it's
that's the hippocampus.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, that's your memory and your learning sort of part of your brain, right? So yeah, because where does fear and anxiety come from? You're often thinking either of the past or the future events that might happen that are ridiculous, or past events that already happened or causing trauma. Yeah. Right? So when you stimulate this part of the brain, you can get stuck in these loops, man. Yeah. Of the past or the future, right? And think about it, your brain, if your brain's already prone to loops and not good with dealing with anxiety, and then you put a bunch of nitrous oxide in that brain, your brain's like meant to forge loops. When we walk around every single day, we're making loops, man. Like you put on your pants. Yeah, exactly. So
when you start to malfunction, when you just like,
when you turn the loop making thing into overdrive and you start thinking about negative shit, then you start getting anxious anxiety.
You're a pigeon. You're just like, keep pressing that button.
I was scared.
No food's coming out.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm scared. I'm freaking out, and you don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
So by adding another beautiful molecule, another cannabinoid, CBD, in combination, it's going to offset. It's going to down-regulate the response that part of your brain is having, so you're not going to deal with the paranoia or the anxiety, or not. It's at least going to lessen it significantly, right?
That's why we did that CBD.
Yeah, totally. We did some CBD before the podcast just to sort of level us out and, get the brain in the right spot. Because that's the thing. Here's if all day, like our brains are pretty much living in that sort of amygdala, that sort of fight or flight state. Like, walk around, man. Like, I really observe your thoughts on a regular basis and really ask yourself how many times you do something, and is it a fear-based response?
Yeah.
Or did you really weigh the options and you're making this decision because of X, Y, and Z? I bet you 90% of your decisions that you make in a day are based on fear, straight up. And you may deny it or whatever, but trust me, it's very interesting. So where was I going with that? Yeah.
Well, I think you know what that does? That it stymies your long-term goals, because you're always worried about those short-term things.
Totally, man.
And I think even like within our financial sector, it's like everyone's so worried and fearful. So everybody's all about that short-term gain.
Totally.
Everyone's
thinking about the future, bro.
The short scam.
everybody's trying to claw their way out of this crazy thing called life.
But I feel like we, as a species, we need to start thinking more long term.
Yeah, bro. Here's the thing, bro. As a species, that's nice. We do got to start doing some things, but really we got to just focus on each person really needs to focus on their own self and figure out what makes them happy and how they can like add to this world. But that's a whole nother topic. We're going to stay in scope. So that's basically it for the news. Super exciting stuff with CBD and THC. So anyone, if you ever are freaking out or you're dealing with anxiety, go get yourself some of that CBD. And if you want to learn more about this ERK molecule, you can go check out this article on Global News. Oh, shit. I'm getting parched. Cool. So our next little segment, we're going to dive into the endocannabinoid system. A little introduction to the endocannabinoid system and give everyone a rundown on it because I think it's super fascinating. And everyone should know about it because we all have an endocannabinoid system. So the endocannabinoid system was actually discovered by an Israeli doctor called Raphael Mechoulam in 1992. This network has been evolving with us for over 600 million years. Okay, it's in every vertebrae and invertebrate, this endocannabinoid system. It all exists with the same thing, CB1, CB2 receptors. CB1 receptors are basically primarily found in your cerebral cortex, which CB1 receptors are responsible for like the high that we get. Yeah. That's THC is the molecule that fills at receptor sites and stimulates the brain, right? And your CB2 receptors are actually found in your peripheral nervous system. So like in your organs, skin, central nervous system as well, right? Now, your endocannabinoid system basically acts as like the internet for your body. It's how your organs and everything speaks to each other. It's actually how it brings your body back to homeostasis. It's, dude, super powerful. So like, let's say so
it stimulates communication between parts of your body.
100%, man. You can look at like the internet of your body, okay? And it uses the endocannabinoid system to basically transfer white blood cells to areas that need certain healing. We know blood cells, basically, when you have an infection, they go to that infection, they take care of that infection. So let's say you have a damaged liver, right? If you have a deficient endocannabinoid system, or you're not, basically deficient endocannabinoid system because you don't have any cannabinoids in your system, if your liver needs white blood cells to get to that spot, well, it doesn't really have the best network to travel on because it's not a stimulated endocannabinoid system, right? So in order for a packet of information to travel to that liver, it needs a phenomenal stimulated endocannabinoid system so it can send as much of those white blood cells to that area to heal it. So you can look at it like an engine that like hasn't had an oil change in a really long time. The oil's just fucking smashing up against the walls. It's getting stuck. Some of the white blood cells are getting to the area, but not all. It's kind of healing, but it's really hard for your body to find a balance.
Well, I think of it just on an anecdotal basis for myself. When I'm high, it's like your whole brain is being stimulated in all those different directions, and that's why sometimes you go off tangents.
Totally.
But I think that maybe that is something to do with the way that the communication, like it's like firing everywhere. It's like stimulating all these bridges to different sections of your brain all at once.
And body, think about
and yeah, your body as what you're saying.
Think
right?
of how you feel when you're high.
Yeah, you get that tingly feeling.
Yeah.
It's like something is being stimulated all around. So there's some kind of communication that would, I could believe that for sure.
The best thing is you don't have to believe it. It's fucking fact.
Yeah.
It's science fact. You can read it in scientific journals that have been written since 1992. The Israelis have been studying cannabinoids and cannabis since the 60s. Raphael Mechoulam was the first to synthesize CBD and THC in 1962 and 1963. These Israelis are gangster as shit when it comes to cannabis research. They also were the first to discover that THC actually causes apoptosis. I might be butchering the pronunciation on this, but THC, when it interacts with cancer cells, causes cell death, instant cell death. They cause them to basically destroy themselves.
Really?
Bro, scientific facts, bro. Yeah, man, like you can, like, these are articles that have been written, like, so.
Yeah. I don't know, whenever there's like an extraordinary claim like that, I do have that skeptical.
Of course, man. Here's the thing, dude. The pharmaceutical companies want to pump you up. Full of shit. There's plenty of cases. Look at Rick Simpson. He's one of the most famous guys who cured his skin cancer with cannabis, his stage 4 skin cancer, with cannabis oil, and many people have followed suit, healing themselves with cannabis. Man, the science is so crazy, and the drug companies have put it down for so long. Man, the U.S. government actually took out a patent for CBD because they were actually aware of the medicinal benefits of it in, like, I don't know, like the 50s or 60s, and you can look this up, man. But they took out a patent on, I forget, it was like, it was some different version of it. So, but they didn't take out a patent on, like, tinctures because they didn't know tinctures would be around or whatever. So, like, technically they could have made millions of dollars, but, like, I don't know. I'm not going to get into all the conspiracy theories. I'd rather stick to the data.
Yeah, but if you do have data, you do have, like, these, like, 'cause you have a lot of knowledge. Like, you're saying a lot of names and stuff like that I don't really, I have no knowledge, no background knowledge, right? So I'm just learning for the first time.
Totally.
So maybe we could put, like, links to some of the articles that would, connect to some of the stuff you're saying, so that we can we can look into it, read it, and then talk about it later if
totally
I agree with whatever it said, because that's for me. I need to, like, do the research and see it for myself.
Dude, this is what this podcast is about, man. Like, here's the thing, dude. Like, I don't even have to fucking show you guys the links. Everyone has Google, dude. Google Raphael Mechoulam. Google the research that the Israelis have been doing. Google cannabis and cancer. Yeah, man. Like, it's just a Google away. All the stuff that I know is off the top of my head is just by looking for the most what do you want to call it? Like, sound articles, the most, like, I don't know. The best information that I could find, and bring that to people. Yeah, man. So, like, as far as articles, like, I'll always list that stuff as well, but, like, I'm just, like, I want people to also question some things on their own, and I want this podcast to inspire some thought. Don't believe me. Say I'm a bullshit, and go do your own research. Yeah. Go and prove me wrong. That's what I would like everybody to do. Go prove everything I'm saying wrong, and find holes in what I'm saying, so then I can do a better job. And then maybe you guys just might find some truths that might blow you the fudge away.
And that's why, like, that's actually why I really like you, because you have that open-minded aspect where you don't have the ego of, like, if you don't believe in everything that I believe, then, I'm not going to hang out with you. I'm not going to talk to you. It's like being open to, other people that have different perspectives that maybe you really, like, would be frustrated with, but you're not going to make that break the relationship or the bond that maybe you could gather with experiencing with that person.
No, of course, man. Like, I'm always open to criticism, dude. Like, I don't think I'm always right. I'm just a fellow stoner who likes information and likes to share information, because it seems like every other people like it too. So, I'm open to criticism. I'm open to, people finding flaws in my own self, and I don't care if people have their own flaws because no one's perfect, yo.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're not a dickhole and you're just like a nice person, yeah, man, I'm always willing to give you a chance. You know what I mean? And shoot the shit with you.
Just imagine if everyone had that same perspective. Like, we wouldn't live in this like polarized world. Because right now there's like, it is very polarized.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It is a very polarizing world. And once again, another one of the world's life's problems that will be hard to solve. That's why I really like to focus on science and trying to like heal ourselves.
Yeah.
And that all comes down to like getting to know like how our biology works. And one of the biggest parts of our biology is this endocannabinoid system, man.
Yeah.
And I think the more in touch we can get in with this, like, dude, this system is basically responsible for bringing our body back to homeostasis. So like, if you have a fully functioning endocannabinoid system, it means all your lungs, organs, everything is going to be functioning properly, man. You're not going to age nearly as much. There's not going to be nearly as much oxidative stress to your DNA and your cells. Which means you're not going to get wrinkles as much. Like, look at a stoner, man. You ever see, a 70-year-old stoner, man? He looks way better than your average, 7-year-old
Snoop Dogg.
Dude, Snoop Dogg for real. Like, and the interesting part too, there are actually more cannabinoid receptors than any other receptors in our nervous system. So what does that tell you, bro?
Well, that we've been using it for a long time,
dude. 600 million years, man. It's been evolving with us.
It's so interesting how like a plant can evolve with humanity, like as like a species. Like, it's just so crazy.
Dude, it's been evolving with us since the beginning of time.
Evolve over time, and like that, you can see that in our DNA.
Dude, it's a trip, man, and they can follow it back, man. And another big thing too that they've discovered or they found out is like people suffering from migraines, fibromyalgia, IBS. They're generally suffering due to a lack of receptor sites in the endocannabinoid system. And you can actually fix this by just ingesting like CBD and THC. So and you have, that's what I was talking about earlier about the deficient endocannabinoid system, right? So if you are lacking or you are someone who is getting sick often or does suffer from these things, you can actually add receptor sites by just ingesting cannabis and allow your endocannabinoid system to function more efficiently, which is literally just another way of saying you're able to get your body's self-regulating system to be functioning as it should be. Because our body's constantly trying to get us back to homeostasis. You know, we're eating, a bunch of energy's going to food, we're getting tired, our body wants to always get back to, we take some drugs, body's always trying to get back to that center, right? That takes a system to do that. If that system is off, then we have headaches, we have sore shoulders, we have, our knees are starting to hurt, right? Because we can't heal ourselves properly.
Well, that is a huge difference between like alcohol and marijuana. Like, you get drunk the next day, you're hungover, your body is just like wrecked. But like, if I get super high and I pass out and then I wake up the next day,
rejuvenated.
I feel good.
Rejuvenated.
I feel ready to go.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, I've had my rest.
Toads, man. Toads.
So it's like, it's a completely, and I think that is why.
One second, I should say something too, though, because there are some people who do suffer from, it's called like a weed hangover. Okay? Like, some people do get this. This is a thing. But here, the reason for that is they don't have enough CBD. Because here's the thing. Cannabis is so high in THC nowadays. And 30, 40 years ago, like it was more of like a 1-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio. And now it's closer to like a 21 THC to 1% CBD. And the CBD, like we learned earlier, helps regulate that anxiety and that psychosis and stuff. And it also keeps the brain from spinning out. When people smoke a lot of cannabis and they're not able to deal with that amount of THC, well, when you're using your brain that much, your brain survives on sugars, right? What happens when you eat a bunch of sugar? You get a sugar crash. So when you run your brain fucking rampant with all that THC, you burn yourself out, and that can sort of lead to like a burnt out feeling the next day. But add some CBD to your diet, and
you're not able to channel it. You're not able to like understand how to utilize it.
Overstimulation. It's overstimulation,
and you don't have the stamina either.
Exactly, and you're lacking. You're lacking the receptor sites, but you're lacking the receptor sites. That's the biggest part of it.
Because I think a lot of people that smoke a lot will have friends that will like try weed with them, and then they'll smoke one of their joints, and then they'll crash. Like I've had a lot of my friends
totally
at a party, and like I'll share some of my joint with them, and one of my friends actually his wife's birthday, he smoked and he passed out like early.
And dude, once again, that's just, it's overstimulation, and their body just, you know what it is, man? It's crazy. It's like your body's just going into like repair mode. It's like it's gotten so much. It's just never experienced it before. So it's like drinking too much, man. Your body needs to kind of recover a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But interesting fact.
But I feel good when I wake up. I'm like,
because you probably have, your physiology is functioning, obviously a little bit better due to the receptor sites that you have. Like you have an adequate amount of receptor sites, cannabinoid receptor sites there, that are allowing your body to function properly. And mind you, this is all like me just guessing too, not a doctor, not a real fucking scientist, but this is my assumptions. An interesting fact that if you're looking to actually, like if you are suffering from migraines or fibromyalgia or these other things, if you are looking to ingest cannabis to add these receptor sites to actually improve your endocannabinoid system, you actually don't need large quantities. Smaller quantities of cannabis will cause your system to produce more receptor sites. Oh. Because it basically sees you're only getting a very small amount.
Microdose.
Exactly. So it wants to create more receptor sites to take in the cannabinoids so they can get your body functioning. People who smoke more cannabis actually have less receptor sites because they're smoking so much. So like I can smoke 20 joints and like not really feel much high because I probably have like 2 cannabinoid receptors because I'm constantly I mean that's a joke, I have no idea, but like because I'm always like I'm fucking pretty lit. Like I mean I don't smoke usually like the first like 3 to 4 hours a day I don't smoke, but then after that I'm pretty much lit for the next like whatever 12 to 16 or whatever.
That's why you can't overdose. Because we have a cap.
Yeah.
Whereas like with alcohol, there's no cap.
No, well, another thing with alcohol is
all the way to
alcohol.
death.
Well, here's the thing: cannabis stimulates neurons, receptors, and all that stuff. It acts as an agonist, right? Alcohol it turns off receptor sites, turns off neurons. Like it literally, it's like an off switch to like your cells if you drink enough of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's such a polar opposite. One's such a stimulant, so you can never die. You can just be more. You can just be overstimulated to the point where it's just too hard to control because there's too much stimulation. Where alcohol, it's like, well, your heart can stop.
Yeah.
It's like, your heart will stop.
Liver failure, like
right. Like you'll feel like you're gonna have a heart attack with weed, but you'll always be fine. Just fucking breathe.
Like the hospital, like I don't know, I don't know any statistics offhand, but like last time I looked, it's like most of the hospital visits in the emergency are alcohol related.
Yeah, man.
The amount of money that our healthcare spends on that drug specifically is like, it's crazy.
No, it's true, man. Alcohol, dude, it's a plague, man. Like, well, it's not a plague. I'm sorry. That's heavy. Yeah, no, it's, man, it's just a very hard drug. It's a very hard substance on the system.
Yeah, I just think that, like, as a society, we haven't really looked at drugs and categorized them in the right way, like in popular view. Mm-hmm. Like I think that people see marijuana, some people, that they see it like it's like cocaine.
Yeah, man.
Or it's like, like it's something way stronger, way more of a risk on your body. Like marijuana is very low risk.
Yeah.
mushrooms, very low risk.
Very low risk. Yeah. Both of them are actually scientifically proven recently to be the 2 most safest drugs on the planet. Also, go Google that. A bunch of articles.
You're not going to overdose.
No, man, you can't overdose.
If anything, you're just going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like, that's harmless.
Very harmless, man.
Yeah.
That's, man, go experiment, man. Anyone listening to this podcast who isn't like experimenting with some psychedelics or at least mushrooms or cannabis, start low and slow. It's harmless. It can't, if anything, it will only help you. This is a beautiful plant. And we didn't even really like dive super even deep into this. There's going to be so much more to come on this podcast. This was just a short little overview. And we'll probably even dive a little bit deeper in the endocannabinoid system on the next one. Maybe go a little bit more into the CB1 and the CB2 receptors and the responsibilities of them. And then, yeah, future podcasts, we talk about terpene profiles, having more guests on, maybe some local glass blowers, local business owners and stuff. But yeah, we're just going to be figuring this podcast out, figuring out a good format, and see how she goes. So I think this is a really good first one. I just want to thank you for joining me, buddy, for this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, this was dope as hell. We smoked 7 joints.
You smoked most of them.
Or no, sorry, it was 8. So it was 5 joints. So it was 5 joints for around an hour and 53-minute podcast. I'll have to keep that in mind. I kind of got to admit, though, I did kind of hold off on my smoking because I wasn't sure if they would last. But yeah, it went well. So yeah, I think that is it. Thanks for joining the Elev8ted Podcast, and hope you got some higher learning done. And go Google, go get your learning caps on. Go Google. Call me out on some shit.
Yeah,
like don't be too mean though. Don't be too mean. Like I got feelings too, but
Airband 2000, get that armor.
Right. But yeah, let's learn and grow together. Thanks for joining me, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Goodbye.